Welcome to Navigating Love and Immigration. I'm your host, Megan Pastrana. Falling in love is exciting. Maintaining a healthy relationship takes work. And when you're going through an immigration process, you are faced with unique challenges. This podcast is for anyone in a cross-cultural relationship who finds themselves lost in the labyrinth of U.S. immigration. We will interview relationship experts, explore the stories of real couples, and provide important tips on starting the next chapter of your lives together. Welcome to this very first episode of Navigating Love and Immigration. I'm your host, Megan Pastrana, and I am so excited to be here with all of you. This podcast is something that I've wanted to start for a long time. It's been a vision in my mind for quite a while. And really the goal of this podcast, and in sharing my personal story and the topics we will discuss, I am hoping to help all of you who are also going through an immigration journey to navigate your own personal story of love and immigration. And I have an amazing job of being an immigration attorney who focuses exclusively on helping couples. I'm the owner and CEO of Immigration for Couples. We help couples across the nation and across the world in navigating the U.S. immigration process. And my firm has helped thousands of couples to receive their green cards and citizenship. But I wanted to do something that provides even more holistic support for couples in their journey. Because when you're starting that next chapter of your lives together, there are so many parts beyond just that immigration process. And that's really the goal of this podcast. And my journey to become an immigration attorney who assists couples really stems from my own personal story of love and immigration. It's not just my story, it's also my husband's story. My husband's name is Carlos, and he is from Mexico. And we went through a process together. And that's really what drove me to become an immigration attorney, is just my own personal story, my own personal journey. I've always known that I wanted to work with individuals. Ever since I was little, I've known I've wanted to work with individuals all over the world. I love traveling. I love different cultures. And I love getting to know people across the world. And then going through an immigration process with my husband, it's just how life is. All the puzzle pieces start coming together, and it really led me to become an immigration attorney who focuses exclusively on helping couples and navigating the process. And from my immigration journey and my husband's immigration journey, the process we went through together, I had a lot of different emotions. So did he. It was a stressful process, but it was also a process that helped us to grow and strengthen our relationship in ways that we wouldn't have had an opportunity to do if we wouldn't have been going through an immigration process. And I know when I work with couples, I know what they're feeling. And if you're going through an immigration process, I know all of the emotions. It's a roller coaster. You're nervous. It's an unknown territory. It's not something that you typically navigate more than once, going through that U.S. immigration process to receive a lawful permanent residency. There's stress and anxiety and fear and excitement too, because you're starting this next chapter together of your lives, and you just have all of these emotions. And so I know what couples are going through, and that's really why I wanted to start this podcast, to share my own personal story of navigating love and immigration with all of you, in the hopes that it will help you on your journey. And throughout navigating in love and immigration, we will have guests on the show, relationship experts, information about bringing pets from other countries. There's just so many parts of relocating to another country and going through a U.S. immigration process. It touches so many other parts of your life. And so that's really what this podcast is here to do, provide you with holistic support on your journey. So let me talk about my husband and our meeting and our journey and the feelings that we went through. And we met. It's been over a decade now. That's crazy to say. I know it's cliche, but time flies. And I will never forget, of course, for all of you who are in love and engaged or married, you know that you won't ever forget the first time that you met your significant other. And we met each other. We had both been invited to a benefit banquet by mutual friends. And that first meeting, we were sat at tables next to each other. And we just started talking. And it's just one of those serendipitous moments in life, because it was something that kind of even before the event, I told my friend I wasn't sure if I was going to actually be able to go. And I'm so glad I did, obviously, because I met the love of my life, and that really was the catalyst for a whole new chapter in my life. And so I love those serendipitous moments, and I love working with couples because I hear their stories too, of these really unique fairy tale, almost Hollywood movie type ways that they met. And so we were sat next to each other, and we just started talking, and we hit it off. Obviously, we fell in love and got married. But we just from that moment on, we really have been inseparable. We just had a lot in common, and I remember how much we just laughed. He is such an amazing human being, and always makes me laugh, no matter how stressed I am. And I remember our first date that the following day, after that benefit banquet, and he just told stories, and I laughed so hard. The really good laugh where you're like, almost like your ribs hurt and your body hurts, but it's the good kind of hurt from laughing so hard. And we just really connected. And as time went on, and our relationship progressed, we knew that, we wanted to be together. And he proposed, and it was on Valentine's Day. And for many couples who are in cross-cultural relationships, typically the next step after you get engaged is you just talk about when you want to get married and where you'll live and things like that. But when you're in a cross-cultural relationship, you're talking about someone who is really going to be either uprooting their life and you'll have to go through an immigration process if you're in the United States. And with that, a lot of individuals think, oh, it's kind of, you see in Hollywood, maybe if you've ever seen the movie with Sandra Bullock and The Proposal, it's kind of like, I'm a United States citizen and this should be pretty easy, but it's not. And for those of you who are in a cross-cultural relationship, who've decided to take that next step and have realized that U.S. immigration might be a process that you have to navigate, it's more overwhelming and more complicated than it seems. And that was stressful because we talked to a few different attorneys. We were improperly advised about options that were or weren't available. And it was just very confusing at the beginning. You just feel overwhelmed. But you want to be excited. You're in love and you want to start this next chapter of your lives. But there's this, what I call an immigration cloud kind of hanging over you to try to figure out, how do we get through this process? It's such a labyrinth. Where do we begin? And for us, I already had plans of wanting to go to law school. I was really had some aspects of my life where I had volunteered and kind of already involved in immigration in various ways. And like I said, just kind of those puzzle pieces in life, things started going into place. And I went to law school and I decided, you know what, I'm going to figure this out. It doesn't seem like we can get the right advice. That we haven't been able to find clarity on the answers to our immigration journey and how it starts and what it should look like. And ultimately, fast forward, I go through law school, I become an immigration attorney. And for my husband and I, we always joke that he was my first client, or I guess you can say I was my own first client. I'm not recommending that you have to go to law school or become your own immigration attorney to be able to do your case. But for us, that was just the path that life took us on. And I got to complete that case under the supervision of a mentor because it was before I had completed law school. But that was really my first opportunity, my very first immigration case. It was a complicated process, and I got to navigate through all of that. The legal aspects of it, of course, my husband and I, we navigated the process together. And the process took almost 2 years. And throughout the process, there was just a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions. And that's really what I wanted to dive into with this very first episode, is all of those feelings that come up. So all of you know you're not alone. It's really common, this trajectory of all of these different feelings, this roller coaster of emotions. And for us, it was something that we started just constantly thinking about. You're always thinking about the immigration process. When something takes that long and it's that complicated, it's ever present in your life. And so it was almost kind of an obsession that you're always thinking about it. You're checking, you're researching, you're wanting to make sure you're on the right path. You're wanting to know what comes. The unknown for human beings is not always a fun or a comfortable feeling. And we just found more and more that we had to be intentional with what we were choosing to focus our time and energy on. And we decided that, this is a really stressful process. We're constantly talking about this immigration case. Let's be intentional and let's make a decision together that this will be a process that we are going to find uplifting, that we're going to find gratitude for, and that we're going to find a way to let this process be something that can be an uplifting process, something that can nourish our relationship. And I know that is probably not something that you normally hear from individuals about the immigration process. It's kind of a unique way, probably you can say, of looking at the immigration journey. A lot of couples just kind of go in and it's overwhelming, it's frustrating, it's stressful, and you just see all of these obstacles, basically, is what it feels like. But what I hope all of you can gain from this episode and from my story and my husband's story, our story rather, is that you can actually make a choice. That's one of our greatest powers as human beings, is that power of choice. And it really was a decision that we made. Let's focus on our relationship. Let's talk about the future. Sure, there are times we are going to have to talk about the case and do things to prepare for the next step, but let's be intentional. And when we start finding ourselves going down a downward spiral, just like obsessing and focusing about the case or checking every single day on the status online, let's be intentional and hold each other accountable, and let's reframe, let's refocus on our relationship. Having helped thousands of couples, I do see that the immigration case can kind of become a third wheel in your relationship. And you just become so obsessed with it that you forget what's most important at the end of the day. And that is your relationship, and taking time to nurture it and enjoy each other and do things together and dream about the future, and not always be obsessed with one topic. I know that probably is easier said than done, but just making that decision at the start of your immigration journey to be intentional and to find this to be a process that can help your relationship to actually grow and be stronger. The immigration journey, and frankly, love in general, it's a wonderful thing, love, but it can also be difficult at times. Relationships are fun and exciting and beautiful, but they can also be stressful, and they take work, and that's okay. But you have to be intentional, because this immigration process is a whole nother layer, a whole nother aspect that most couples don't have in that equation of their next chapter. And so you can choose, and that's what we did, you can choose to let that process be something that you're doing together. It's a journey that you're taking together. It's an opportunity for both of you to go through something that's very difficult and find your resiliency and find the process to be uplifting and find it to be a way to really make your relationship even stronger. Now, I know that can be easier said than done. And I will be honest with you that throughout the process, there were times that were really, really hard. And it depends. For every couple, it's different. Some individuals are having to live apart for sometimes more than a year, and you're living in two separate countries, and it's hard to make time to be able to visit one another. For some individuals, you might be here in the country and you're not able to work for long periods of time, and that can have financial strains. It just really, obviously, it just depends on the couple and the process that you are going through. And for us, there was a part of the process where there was an interview that occurred abroad in Mexico. And I will never forget the day that we had to go to the airport for him to be able to go there, to go to Mexico, to the consulate for an interview. And he was going to have to be gone for a while. And I had to put on a brave face and be strong that day. But it was really scary. It's very scary for any couple to not know what is the decision that immigration is going to make. Are they going to see that you have a real relationship? Are they going to grant this case? Are they going to give you your green card? And it was extremely emotional. I'll be honest, I had trouble sleeping and, binge watching Netflix and doing things like eating a lot of sugar, because that's one of my favorite food groups, even though it's not healthy. But then recognizing that I was on this down, and that I was in these emotions, and then I had to do a reframe, and we supported each other. Both of us were going through different emotions, and having to support each other and reminding each other we have to be optimistic and focus on that end goal and keep focusing on your future, instead of, again, focusing on that immigration case. And throughout our journey, when you're going through the U.S. immigration process, it's a bureaucratic system. And there's technology components and human components, and a lot of areas in which errors can occur. And so I do remember there was a time when the online system, this really important online system where we were supposed to complete an application, was down for months. And so even though we wanted to complete the process, we couldn't, because the immigration online system was broken. And I remember checking that multiple times a day for 2 months. And we just had to keep saying, it'll get fixed. Eventually it will. Even though we felt a lot of stress and anxiety, and those knots in your stomach, and just frustration, because for people who want to be able to control things, which I think all of us as human beings have had that experience where we just want to just control the outcome. You want to control the process. And both of us had to learn to surrender to the fact that we can't control certain aspects of the immigration process. And we have to just keep saying, it's okay. We will get there. We will get there when we get there. And that online system, of course, finally came back up. And then even when the visa was issued, immigration made another mistake, a typo, and that does happen. Unfortunately, that I know that's extremely frustrating. I've seen for couples, doesn't matter. You gave them your documents with the accurate name. You wrote everything accurate. There is, like I said, there can be errors. There's a human component, a technology component. And so there was an error, and then it caused an additional delay, and we had to wait for that to be reprinted. But we just had to keep saying, it's going to be okay. We'll get to the finish line. And we did. And it felt really amazing at the end. And it feels surreal even now. That was so long ago, and we've gotten through the process. But it's just surreal that we went through that journey together. And it really did. It made our relationship stronger, because when you're going through the process, you are faced with all kinds of unique challenges. No matter how straightforward your case may appear to be, the immigration process in the United States is not made to be easy or straightforward. It really is. It's a labyrinth. It's a maze. It's complex. And being able to go through that process together, being able to use your power of choice and choosing how you want that experience to go for you it's really powerful. And it really did strengthen our relationship, because we made that conscious choice. And I hope for all of you, you will be able to do the same, regardless if you've already started your journey and you've been going through all kinds of stress and frustration and confusion. I hope that this will give you pause to think about how you want to experience this journey, and really find a way for this process to be uplifting for both of you. And throughout this podcast, throughout all of these episodes, we will be providing you with more and more support in different forms. I will be interviewing relationship experts and individuals that have actually gone through the process as well. Real couples who've gone through the process. I think it's important to know that this is a community and that you're not alone with the feelings that you have. And don't make the feelings that you have wrong. They are part of your experience, but I really hope that my story, my own personal story, my husband's story, our story that we're sharing with you, and then throughout navigating love and immigration, that this will be something that you can lean on for support and feel like we're here as a guide for you, and that you're not alone on your immigration journey. So again, I'm so excited to be launching this podcast. I'm so excited to be with all of you on your immigration journeys, and I wish you all the best of luck. Thanks so much for listening.